It's time to check up on the power rankings. And let me tell you something, it's crowded in the middle.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. I've been a baseball podcaster for well over a decade now, and I am smack dab in the middle of my sixth full season here at the Locked On Podcast Network. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter, or whatever it's called now, on Instagram. I am your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And if you're listening to us every day, when you post on one of the social media sites, be sure to put on that hashtag Everyday Sully, so we have an idea who's listening to us every single day. Hey, did you know who sponsored today's show? I didn't know till 1 second when I opened up this folder. Turns out it is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the easiest, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use all lowercase Locked On MLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Nobody got the trivia question today, and I'm going to move on. A couple people guessed incorrectly. The question was, who is the only person to win the college baseball or the College World Series MVP and later go on to close out the World Series? And we got a smattering of guesses, including the likes of someone said Greg Olson, not sure which World Series he closed out, and someone guessed Michael Wacha. So who guessed Michael? I forgot who guessed Michael Wacha. I'll find it later, but it was wrong. The answer is Josh Sborz. That's right. The guy who clinched last year's World Series for the Texas Rangers was the first time the College World Series MVP was the one standing on the mound, clinching the World Series. And so there you go. There you go. I wanted to move on because I have another trivia question I wanted to bring about today. Recording this when their game's still going on, but some have finished up. The Twins got back onto their winning ways over Seattle in a tight game, and the Royals rallied against the Brew Crew 3-2. The Angels are slowly looking like they could become one of the worst teams in baseball. But, you know, the White Sox are saying, hold my lunch. The Pirates beat up the Angels 4-1. And I say beat up 4-1. It just never seemed that close. The Pirates scored 4 in the third, and just like they were on autopilot. Meanwhile, the Rays, the White Sox played well until around the fifth. And then the Rays just came in and clobbered them. And the Guardians won a key game against a division rival, the Detroit Tigers. Guardians took that one 2-1. Boy, the Guardians can still pitch, and they can hit too now. That's a positive thing. Wheeler, the Giants don't look good right now. And old farmhand Zach Wheeler came out, pitched a terrific game. The Phillies completed that long sweep against the San Francisco Giants. And I just got back from the Bay Area. And who would have thought that the A's would be the best team at this point? As I'm recording this right now, the A's are playing the Rangers. There's no score, but the A's are trying to win that game, which would pull them to within a game and a half of first place at this point, but pull them back to 500. I hope some of you checked out my podcast that I did the other day on Locked On A's, as I'm hosting on Locked On A's. I hope you checked out what I did. As I went to the game, which had a massive rain delay at the beginning, and I had fun at the ballpark meeting some fans and everything like that, and I had a lot of fun. And I got very, very wet, but I'm back here in the dry Locked On MLB studios in Pasadena, California, overlooking the historic Rose Bowl. Hey, every week all the Locked On hosts get together and we put in our votes for the power rankings to sort of get an idea of who is doing well, who's doing not always about the win-loss record, but how the momentum behind them, how they're looking all together. And I vote on them. I'm one of the people who vote on it as well, and I take my vote kind of seriously. I don't want to just throw it away. Have that be a lesson for everyone this year in an election year. Just don't throw away your vote. However you go, vote for your conscience. And I vote for the Locked On MLB Power Rankings. And it's interesting because there are 30 teams in Major League Baseball. And right now, I think there's probably 7 or 8 very good teams right now and playing very well as well. I think there's about 5 teams that are playing really horribly right now. And if you take basically between number 9 and number 25, okay? Between 9 and 25, in that, what is that? There's 16 teams that I think you can just put in a bag, shake the bag, and pull out like they're freaking tiles in a Scrabble game. There's about 16 teams that I would put anywhere between 9 and 25. And if you just hit shuffle, I would sort of see the rankings like, oh, that makes sense. This league has become very top heavy, very bottom heavy, and there's a murky middle. Now, as we've seen, the murky middle can produce pennant winners. Last year, the Diamondbacks were part of the murky middle. A few years ago, the Braves were part of the murky middle. The Nationals, who barely squeaked into the playoffs a few years ago, when murky middle went on to win the World Series. By the way, murky middle is either a terrific fantasy baseball team name or a great new wave band that you forgot existed in the 80s. It didn't quite take off the way that Talking Heads did. So when I do these power rankings, the ones at the bottom absolutely belong in the bottom. The ones at the top are heads and shoulders standing in the top. But the ones in the middle, I mean, really, you'll see that the rankings have fluctuated a lot. And yet, it's like, I get it. They're all kind of the same. There's one team jumped up from the bottom 4 to the middle, because I don't think they belonged in the bottom 4 last week anyway. I think it was kind of lazy voting. Well, let's get right into it. By the way, Jeff Cohen's listening to us. He's an everyday Sully and a very big Mets fan. I'm sure he's happy because the Mets beat the Cardinals, and we'll see. I mean, these power rankings are basically, we put in our votes on Sunday, so please don't. If someone won big today, say, why did you move up? The bottom are the Marlins. I was at the A's game where they lost 20-4. Now, granted, they wound up winning the final game, but the Marlins are dreadful. And not only they're dreadful, they're already selling. They already traded away Luis Arraez. This team's going to lose 100 games. And the question is, will the A's outdraw the Marlins? We'll see. The A's are certainly better than the Marlins. We absolutely saw that. The Marlins are the worst team, and they've dropped 7 of their last 10 games. The only saving grace is they swept the Rockies, who, by the way, the Rockies are number 29. Last week, the Rockies were 30 and the Marlins were 29. They just flip-flopped. It doesn't matter. They're both dreadful teams. The 2 expansion teams from 1993 stink. Coming up at number 28 this week are the White Sox. That's exactly where the White Sox were last week. And their 4-6 record shows that's where they belong. At number 27, you have the Angels. The Angels have lost 7 of their last 10 games and have lost Mike Trout for a long time. And they don't just look bad. They look dead from the neck up. They don't look good. They're not playing smart baseball. They're not doing much. Oh, by the way, great point from Jeff Cohen. The Marlins miss Kim Ng much? Yeah, someone hired Kim Ng. She was doing some good stuff with the Marlins, and now they're gone. The team stinks, and they're selling away. Hire Kim Ng. Thank me later. Last week, the A's were at number 27. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I'm the movie producer from the Godfather. They throw it all away just to make me look ridiculous. And then you have the Astros And the Astros are really confusing because every once in a while they look like, okay, the Astros are back, but then they lose a bunch of games and they've still been stumbling around. They're 12-21. They are in danger of falling 10 games under 500. And I know they're a super talented team and we're only in May, but 10 games under 500 when some of the teams are playing well, that's a lot of games to make up. And they're just not, they don't look like they're ready to go on a huge long winning streak. But right now, those are the 5. Those are your bottom feeders. Those are your Devil Rays, as you were. Not the Rays, but the Devil Rays. Back when they were the Devil Rays, it was appropriate because a Devil Ray is a bottom feeding fish, which is where the Devil Rays were in the standings. And that's where the Astros, Angels, White Sox, Rockies, and Marlins are just they're playing bad baseball. Now, the Astros, I hesitate to put it there because obviously they've been terrific up until this point, but when a team loses it, they lose it. And right now, those are your 5 teams that I look at and go like, yep, you could punch them in the face. Now, we come back, I'm going to just plow through 9 through 25. Do you know why? They could be in just about any order.
Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You can pick more than or less than on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your Prize Picks entry, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. Take your picks on more than or less than, and then add them to your Prize Picks entry today. Get in on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. Prize Picks is really simple to play. I can make my picks and submit them in less than 60 seconds. Download the app and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Yes, download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Stop the game. We got to talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying. You can't stop the game. There's a Major League Baseball game going on over your shoulder. But I got to tell you, Monopoly Go has so many great things about it. You can team up with friends for timed tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock, and there's so much you can get. Unique stickers you can trade with your friends to complete albums for big prizes. Cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with. Hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings and heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure, robot Penchiku game, and there's always timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something going on fun to discover with Monopoly Go, so get off the bench and download it at the App Store or Google Play. All right, you may resume the game. Hey, where do you get your sports news? It's time to make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, the first ever 24-hour streaming sports channel on YouTube. It's now available on the Free Fires TV app on your Amazon TV. Check out all the latest opinions and takes from local experts from Locked On, plus the national shows. Locked On Sports Today. It's on your YouTube 24/7. Check it out. Have that be your new go-to spot.
Now, let's just plow through these because, again, I don't think anyone can take any offense to where any of these teams are landing between 9 and 25. At 25, you got the Arizona Diamondbacks, who had a bad week. They lost 7 of their last 10 games. But I do think there's too much talent on that team. I do think they're going to turn some things around, especially when some of their pitchers start to get a little back in their good graces. By the way, last week the Diamondbacks were at number 20, so they fell down quite a bit. At number 24, inching towards the legitimately bad team area are the St. Louis Cardinals, and we are getting perilously close to really saying, time to get a new GM, time to go in a new direction. Mozeliak and everyone has been in charge there for a while. I know he's going to resign in about a year, but if there's someone who's burning down your house and you say, well, I'm going to stop burning it down in a couple of hours. You don't say, okay, keep going. I won't turn on the hose. I can't give this guy the car keys for a couple more years. This is the once proud Cardinals, and they just don't look good. And the moves that they made have not been paying off. Last week, the Cardinals were at 24, so they dropped a spot. At 23, you got the Pittsburgh Pirates, who had a horrible week, dropping 8 of their last 10 games. And, they won today against Anaheim. I'm not going to call them Los Angeles. They're Anaheim. They're that bad. So maybe the Angels are exactly the elixir that everyone needs. The Pirates were at 18 last week, so they dropped a bunch of spots. The Blue Jays are at number 22. The Blue Jays again, they lost 7 of their last 10, and I believe they lost again. No, they didn't play today. But the Blue Jays are just playing dumb baseball. They need to make a change to the management. They need to do something, because there's no way that this is a sub 500 team. But they sure as heck are playing like one, and they currently are one. Last week, the Blues were at number 19, so they've dropped a bunch of spots. At number 21, the aforementioned Tampa Bay Rays. Again, they've had some sloppiness. They won today against the White Sox. Maybe they'll beat up on the White Sox and creep closer to 500. As of this recording, they are at even 500. So maybe they're getting back into their winning ways. I say you sleep on the Rays at your own peril, even if they're not particularly doing great. They were at 22 last week, so they're up a spot. At number 20, the San Francisco Giants. The Giants just got swept by the Philadelphia Phillies, which is not something to be ashamed of, but there's just something not clicking with the Giants. They sent Robbie Ray to the injured list. I think it was a little bit of the Rodney Dangerfield in Caddyshack. Ow, my arm. Because he just needs more spring training, because he's been absolutely dreadful. Their rallies fell short. They couldn't get that big hit, and they're not clicking. Now, I have too much faith in Bob Melvin. I think he's too good of a manager. I think things will eventually turn around, and they've been hitting a buzzsaw with a couple of teams, but they just don't look particularly good right now. Ironically, they moved up a spot from last week. At number 19 are the New York Mets. Again, a team that are filled with a lot of talent and decide to go the route of youth. By the way, there must be an 80s album called The Root of Youth. The Mets are down 4 spots from last week. At number 18 are the Washington Nationals, who've been playing a little better than people are expected. And tonight, they didn't play tonight. It's a lighter schedule here. But the Nats have won 6 of their last 4 games, and some of the trade pieces from the Juan Soto deal are coming together. At number 17 are the Cincinnati Reds, down 4 spots from last week. The Reds had a rough week, dropping 7 of their last 10 games, and are now sub 500. A lot of talent in that, and it's a weird division. They could still take it on, but right now they're in that neutral zone middle. At number 16 are your Oakland A's, winning 8 of 10 and having they just keep winning series. Even though they got clobbered in the final game against Miami, they keep taking 2 out of 3, 3 out of 3, splitting, a 4-game series. They keep winning games. And if that keeps going, that means you have a winning season. Now, everyone seems to be comparing this A's team to the movie Major League. I guess that's fun to do. And do you want A's fans? Enjoy every single minute of it. At number 15, you got the Boston Red Sox, who split their last 10 games. And they are, right now hovering around 500. Sometimes they look good. Sometimes they look great. They're tough to figure out. And last week, the Red Sox were at 12. At 14, you got the Tigers. They were 14 last week. Again, AL Central, no powerhouse in that division. I'm sorry, Guardian fans, you're not a powerhouse just yet. You may turn out to be. And the Guardians beat the Tigers today. Can't afford to lose games like that, Tigers. if you're chasing them, you don't get this. You got to take advantage of when things are happening. At number 13 are the Padres, up 3 from last week. And the Padres are now playing winning baseball. And the Padres are winning tonight. And they picked up Luis Ariz from the Marlins. It cost them a few young players, but they basically are filling the hole that Juan Soto, the Juan Soto hole in their lineup with Luis Ariz. Now, Ariz is not as good as Soto, but he's a darn good hitter. And you know what? I give the Padres credit. They're rebuilding and retooling at the same time. And they're putting a winning product on the field right now in front of big crowds. At number 12, down one spot from last week, you have the defending World Series champion Texas Rangers, who've won 6 out of their last 10 games and are now locking antlers with the Athletics. Now, with the Mariners' loss tonight, if the Rangers hold on and win this game against the A's, they're currently down by a run, then the Rangers will leapfrog the Mariners into first place, which brings us to last week, the Rangers were at number 11. At number 11, you got the Mariners, who had a good week last week. They're down a spot from last week. They're currently in first place as of this recording. We'll see where that goes after the Rangers game. Entering the top 10, you got the Kansas City Royals, who are sneaking into the elite team conversation. They wound up beating Milwaukee and are inching closer to first place. They're a fun team. They're a fun team with good young players, and I like how the team is put together. The Royals are oddly down 2 spots, but that's what I mean. It's all lumped together. And number 9, you got the Cubs, and the Cubs are still in first place. Wait, no, they're not in first place. Wait, are they in first place? Oh, I can't remember. You know what? It's been the Brewers are in first place. They've been back and forth and back and forth. But the Cubs are at number 9. They still have a lot of young talent on the team. They still have some good players on the team, and they're playing in a very winnable division. So there you go. That's 9 through 25. Almost all of them, you could say the exact same thing. But when we get to the top 8, those are the elite teams and the ones that, quite frankly, are better than the rest.
Mother's Day is coming up. My mom listens to this podcast, so I'm not going to tell her what we're going to get her. Are we going to get her flowers for the kitchen island? Are we going to get her some essentials, or maybe the latest tech for a more, practical gift? I'm not going to spoil it, but I'm going to tell you how you're going to get it, Ma. Through DoorDash. We might use same-day delivery or schedule a week ahead of time. We will get savings and make you proud of us, Mom. With DoorDash membership, we can save on a $0 delivery fee, reduced service fees, and eligible offers from DashPass merchants that meet the minimum subtotal. Other fees include service fees and terms apply. You too can order now and get everything you need from Mother's Day on DoorDash. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for 50% off your next order. Up to $15 when you spend $15 or more on your next flower, convenience, grocery, retail. Order now on DoorDash. That's promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Order using DoorDash today. Terms apply, and you'll get your gift, Mom. Hey, what's your go-to spot for checking out the latest in sports, opinions, takes, and the news? Have it be Locked On Sports Today, the first ever national 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's now available on the free Amazon Fire TV's channel app. Check it out for all the latest from the Locked On experts and the national shows. Check it out, Locked On Sports Today. Have that be your hub.
Now behind the shortstop.
Okay, we're going to go through the top 8 now. At one point on April 21st, the Twins were 6 games under 500. On May 4th, they were 6 games above 500. That's what a 12-game winning streak will do. The Twins have done a huge leapfrog. Last week, they were at 17. Now they're at number 8, and they are looking like the team that won the division last year. At number 7, the Milwaukee Brewers. They are the Rodney Dangerfield of Major League Baseball. They don't get any respect, but they do win games. Now, they lost today to the Royals, but they've got really good pitching, and they've been getting some timely hitting. And give Murphy and company a little bit of credit. They're playing very well in Milwaukee and are eyeing another division title. At number 6, And I think this might be kind of low. But do you want all these top teams? You got to kind of lump it together. You got the Guardians. The Guardians are now 11 games above 500. Last week, the Guardians were at number 3. They tumbled to number 6, but that's because we've had some really, really terrific showings, some of the teams. And also, the Guardians have lost 6 of their last 10 games, but they're getting right back on the winning side. The Yankees were at number 5 last week, and again, they're at number 5. Judge is starting to hit. They're starting to win some games, and they're doing this without Garrett Cole. So give Aaron Boone a lot of credit for having this team playing well. Now we go to the top 4, the Mount Rushmore, if you will, of the baseball season so far. At number 4, you have the Atlanta Braves. Last week, they were number 1. They dropped to number 4. Being swept can do that to you. They got swept by Los Angeles, and quite frankly, the Dodgers just looked a little bit better. The Braves are still a terrific team and could wind up winning 100 games and facing off with the Dodgers, or they could be a wild card team. And the reason they could be a wild card team is because of the Philadelphia Phillies, who are at number 3. Last week, they were at number 6. The Phillies, let the record show, when I did my power ranking voting, I put them at number 1. And not just because I picked them to win the World Series, but because this team, they just look good. They look really good. Did I mention how good they look? They can hit, they can pitch. And if you take a look at this team so far, they are, so they're now 14 games above 500 at this point. And they had going into March and April, they combined for a 20-11 record. They haven't lost in May yet. They have not lost in May, and their winning streak. They had a 7-game winning streak earlier, and they're on another winning run right now. They swept San Francisco, and they just look terrific. Now they didn't get the top spot. The Baltimore Orioles are the top spot, or the number 2 spot, the same spot where they were last week, and it's been a good week for the O's, as you saw how they played. They wound up sweeping Cincinnati, not just sweeping them. They held the Cincinnati Reds to 2 runs. 2 runs in 3 games. That's pretty tremendous. They took 3 out of 4 from the Yankees. They lost the series to the A's, but no one can beat the A's these days. They beat the series against the Angels. They won the series against the Royals. They swept the 4-game series in Minnesota. I mean, the Orioles just keep on winning. Holding the Reds to 2 runs in 3 games. The Reds aren't bad, and they looked bad. 3-0, 2-1. Okay, a couple of close games, and the final score was 11-1 on the game on Sunday. And at number 1, up 3 spots from last week, are the LA Dodgers. It's what they do. Ohtani, anyone worried about his year? I think he looks pretty good. They swept the Atlanta Braves. And today, with Walker Buehler making his first appearance, the game's still going on. But the Marlins scored 2 runs before the Dodgers even came to bat. Like, are the Marlins going to go on something? It took 2 batters for Shohei Ohtani to tie the game, and Freddie Freeman gave them the lead. The Marlins couldn't hold on to the game for a single inning. So here are the power rankings. And there you go. So tell us what you think. Put it down on the comments section here. And by the way, let's do our trivia. Pow, says Ryan Martinez. Thank you. The trivia question is this. I didn't know this till earlier today. Who is the first and only member of the Kansas City Royals to have won a home run title, to lead the league in home runs. It's only happened once. Who was the only Kansas City Royal to win a home run title? Put the answer down here at YouTube or at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Going through the power rankings and realizing the top is pretty crowded, the bottom is pretty crowded, and that middle is just a jumble. This has been Locked On MLB. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.